Don't forget to like and subscribe to follow good stories. Evening at the manor. A handwritten letter had been delivered. As I have mentioned in my previous correspondences, all is well on the Verdier estate thanks to your grace. I hope the business that has called you away will soon be settled. I shall write again should anything noteworthy arise. Sincerely, Chloe Verdier. The Duke smiled. Chloe Verdier? He thought. Does she not intend to take my name? Next to a tabloid from the other day still on his desk, the headline screamed, "Was even marriage unable to extinguish Duke? This is fiery passion." The Duke, newly married, had been caught dating Marchioness Isabella. Damien picked up the newspaper and muttered, "She must have read this." But she didn't mention it in her letter. How does she feel about it? Chloe, did you shed tears in solitude? No. You probably held them back as usual. That's what frustrates me the most. He sneered as he turned to another page. It read, "The Duke's secret affair during his honeymoon." This had bolstered the position of Prince Johann, heir to the throne. Meanwhile, rumors about the king's deteriorating health continued to spread. Damien thought to himself, they have reported exactly as I told them to. Suddenly, he pondered something, his fingers continuously tapping on the table, recalling the conversation in the private room that day. Chloe had said she would help him as much as she could in everything. He was a bit annoyed. She talks as if she could do anything. Whenever I think about her, a surge of desire to grasp something tight suddenly arises within me. She irritated me from the very first time I saw her. It was so annoying to see her mingling among the wounded soldiers and treating them, while she could easily be mistaken for one of them. The strange feeling that kept rising within me every time I saw her like that left a sour taste in my mouth. Damien opened the desk drawer. He fondled the white glove she had painstakingly made for him. Perhaps next time, I should lock her in a room and make her sew all day. And when she runs out of clothes to sew, Damien smirked, I will have her embroider my body at the royal palace. A raspy cough and the weak voice of the king interrupted him. It won't be long before the Lord takes me. I trust you will serve Johann well even after I'm gone. The old man struggled to breathe. I am sure you know his mind is not sound. Swear before the Lord that you will be loyal to Johann. Damien shot him a cold look. I will, if he is a king worthy of my loyalty. The old king shouted. What? What did you say? Coughing, he continued to yell in pain. It is the duty of a subject to serve his king, Damien. Damien, sitting beside the king, replied calmly. Then it is only to clear what the future holds for this country. It is ruled by someone who has gone mad without anyone noticing. I take back that last part. I know of his madness, as do you, and all those who died at his hands. There are a flood of rumors talking about bodies being pulled from his room one after the other. It will not be long before the people find out that such words were never rumors at all. Your Majesty, I risked my life on the battlefield for the sake of this kingdom. I will always be ready to fight for my country. Is it not right for the throne to belong to someone worthy of it? The old king screamed. What do you dare imply before me? Coughing violently, he continued. Since when? Since when have you harbored such selfish ambitions? Damien coldly replied. Since when? Since the day I was born. Back at the Verdier estate, Chloe was sitting in the study, reading a book. However, her mind was not on the words but elsewhere. Duke this and Marquis Isabella. Maybe I should have taken a closer look at that article. She closed the book in frustration, telling herself to forget about it. Chloe, how important is it really to you? Suddenly, the Viscount entered the room with a letter. Chloe hesitated as she took the letter. The Duke hadn't written to her since he left for the capital. She gently opened the envelope and read the words on the paper. To my beloved wife, Chloe von Thys. Please wait for me at the Thys estate while performing your duties as Duchess there. I hope you have been looking forward to our meeting as impatiently as I have. Your husband in the Verdier Mansion's hall. The Viscount was instructing Jules on escorting Lady Chloe safely to the Thys castle. As with any parent, no matter how grown their children are, they are always seen as little ones in need of care. The Viscount held Chloe's hand with affection. My dear, you and Alice will always be my little girls. Chloe joked. If I had to guess, you will still be saying that even when I am an old woman. The Viscount replied, you are probably right. I know you are the honorable wife of a duke now and that you should have left my side long ago. But Chloe immediately embraced the Viscount. Father, I will be all right, she whispered. I wish I could stay with you forever. You have seen for yourself how much the Duke cherished me. Though Chloe had no desire to go to this estate, she knew she had important duties there. It will be all right, truly, Chloe reassured herself, forcing a smile. So please, send me off with a smile. Toot toot. The train slowly departed for the estate. In the first-class compartment, the servant Jules appeared hesitant. Lady Chloe, I could have traveled in a cargo car. This compartment is too luxurious for me. Chloe replied gently, we have a long today journey ahead. Besides, I will soon spend most of my time alone. Outside the train, fields of wheat were covered by thousands of falling white snowflakes. In the distance were white-capped mountains. It's snowing, Chloe sighed as she watched the snowflakes dance outside the window. After the long journey, the two finally arrived at the family castle. An elderly woman respectfully greeted them. Welcome, my lady. I am Elisa, the head maid and housekeeper of this family. Chloe looked around and thought, this castle is enormous, yet only one person has come out to greet me. That can only mean I am not welcome here. Chloe tapped her cane once as she responded. Thank you for the warm welcome. Would you prepare some food for my attendant to take on his return journey? He is weary from escorting me here. Elisa hesitated. Very well. Gilles was about to stop his mistress. Lady Chloe, Elisa seems unapproachable. I shall call a maidservant. Find something for your servant. You may follow me. Chloe turned to Gilles. I apologize for not being able to see you off. Thank you and travel safely. She limped along behind Elisa, leaving him behind. In a room, Elisa respectfully announced, Your Grace, Lady Chloe has arrived. A voice of an older woman spoke up. Show her in. Chloe politely greeted. My name is Chloe. It is an honor to finally meet you. Thank you for arranging for the carriage to collect us from the station. It is truly appreciated. The woman's commanding voice responded. Look at me, Chloe. She looked up at the woman, surprised. The woman before her had blonde hair and blue eyes like delphiniums, exuding an air of nobility. You look quite pretty. You look just like the very first deer Damien caught as a boy. Chloe smiled in return. You are too kind. The woman continued, Are you secretly aiming to seize that vast fortune? Or have you learned about the royal family's misdeeds? Chloe gently replied, I don't know much about that, ma'am. The woman touched Chloe's cheek, causing her to feel a bit embarrassed. Then that must mean Damien chose you as his bride for reasons other than practical ones. It is true that you are beautiful, but hunting a deer with an injured leg for sport is rather unusual for my son. She waved her hand. I can't believe he asked for family jewelry to propose out of curiosity, perhaps. He loves the thrill. Chloe responded. I'm sure he wouldn't decide to marry based on momentary interest. I don't know why he chose me, but I will serve him to the best of my ability, despite my shortcomings, to ensure the prosperity of the family. The woman commented, Oh, you're smarter than I thought. I like you. With your beautiful face, my jewelry will suit you well. And since you're quite clever, you can help manage this castle. You see, I have high expectations for my son. Nothing in this world is more important than his family. Now that you're here, she became excited. Let me tell you about Damien's childhood. Chloe smiled awkwardly, feeling something was off. The conversation dragged on until late at night. She collapsed on her bed, lamenting. She spent hours bragging about her son. It seemed Damien had been strictly raised. My son is number one. Chloe recalled being overwhelmed by the woman showing her pictures of Damien as a boy. She thought, but he was adorable as a child. She turned over, exhausted, and noticed something on the bedside table. It was a portrait of the Duke, looking dashing. One morning at the Thies estate, the Duke's mother was sipping tea, commenting, I was rather surprised to see you shut yourself in the study for 3 days, even though you just arrived here. It seems you're like Damien in this regard. Once he focuses on something, he loses track of time. She set her teacup down. So, what do you want to discuss? Chloe softly asked Elisa. Could you give us some privacy? The Duchess mother interrupted. Oh, Chloe, Elisa has served our family since Damien was born. She's practically part of the family, so there's no need for her to leave. Chloe ignored those words, more concerned about the letter from Damien. It read, To my dear Duchess of House Vonthus, how are you finding life at Bridge Castle? I trust you are performing your duties as a duchess within a satisfactory manner. I hope you will not disappoint me. Missing you very much, Damien. Chloe sighed, feeling the letter was more of a warning than a love note. Reflecting on her duties as a duchess, she looked at the two women across from her and said, "After reviewing the ledger for the past 3 days, I discovered discrepancies in the castle's finances. It's clear money is being siphoned off through some loophole." The duke's mother couldn't help but be surprised. "My dear, controlling such a large estate is no easy feat." Elisa, who was standing behind, seemed nervous. She became restless and secretly glanced at her mistress as Chloe continued, "Yes, and that's another reason we need to manage this place as tightly as possible. The records do not clearly state the reason for the expenditures, and the total taxes everyone has to pay are not recorded either. Additionally, there is a discrepancy between the actual quantity of wine in the cellar and the amount recorded. This is not something that has happened just once or twice, but has repeated many times." Chloe stared intently at the head maid standing on the other side. "It seems that this irregularity began around the time Mrs. Elisa replaced Stuart in the position." The head maid gaped in horror at Chloe's revelations. The entire room fell silent except for her sobbing. Tears fell to the floor, causing the Duchess's mother to sigh. "Elisa, please leave us alone for a moment." Ashamed, she covered her face and hurried away. "Yes, madam." Once the door closed, the mother-in-law scolded, "Don't you think it would have been better to discuss this privately?" Chloe replied, "I apologize, madam, but I still believe it is necessary to dismiss Elisa, as well as the stable manager Robinson." The mother was puzzled. "Robinson? What's this about?" Chloe answered, "Elisa must have used a carriage to smuggle those goods out of the estate. The quantity of items stolen is too large to have been done alone." The Duchess's mother sighed. "Those two are loyal servants. They have supported us through difficult times. Dismissing them is not something that can be done lightly." Chloe replied, "That's what makes their dishonesty even more unforgivable. If Elisa truly valued the trust you placed in her, she would never have done such things behind your back. If this continues, the amount of money lost will only grow larger. If you ignore this matter, madam, those two will only commit more serious offenses, and it will cause even greater harm to the family." The mother interrupted Chloe, her voice laced with irritation. "Why do you insist on making my life more difficult by bringing up these matters? And why do you keep calling me madam as if we are complete strangers? You are married into this family after all." Chloe looked puzzled. "So, may I call you mother then?" She frowned. "That doesn't seem quite appropriate either." The mother stood up, intending to leave. "Let's end our conversation here. I will discuss this matter with Damien when he returns home and make a decision afterward. You will have to eat lunch alone. I have no appetite right now. Shall I bring your meal to your room?" Chloe asked. "I said I have no appetite. You know I don't want to be around you, but skipping meals isn't good for your health." The mother immediately shouted, "Can you be silent instead of responding to everything I say?" She left the room, visibly upset. "Hey, she can really drive someone crazy sometimes," Chloe muttered, left alone with nothing to do but hang her head. Dusk had fallen over the Thys estate. It was now dinner time, and Chloe was being served by the maid. "Please call me if you need anything," the maid said respectfully before leaving. Looking at the dry steak and the frightening silence of the dining room, Chloe had no appetite and sighed wearily. "I guess I've made myself hated." Indeed, she was all alone at dinner. "I heard the Duchess wants to fire Mrs. Elisa, and she's only been here for a week. This is why people must be careful when choosing a bride." Chloe overheard the servants whispering. She remained silent. Everything on her plate tasted bland. She thought about her father back home, Jules's journey, Alice's reply, and the Duke. When will the Duke return? Will things get better when he does? Chloe wondered. She shook her head vigorously to dispel the mocking face and cynical smile in her mind. No, definitely not, she thought. Frustrated, she stabbed her fork into the steak, as if cornering people was a family tradition in the household. She sighed and muttered, "I don't know who's worse, the mother or the son. It seems you've had quite an interesting conversation." A familiar voice suddenly spoke. Chloe was startled to hear the Duke's voice. He was standing right behind her, looking at her gently. "Mumbling to yourself like this isn't like you. I must have made you very lonely by leaving like that," he said. Chloe stood up, looking at him in surprise. The Duke suddenly opened the dining room door. The mother's excited voice echoed through the room. "Damien, my dear son." She approached him lovingly. "Am I dreaming? You should have informed us that you were coming home." Damien gently replied, "I returned early because I missed you. Oh my, such a sweet talker. Chloe felt a bit uncomfortable with this overly emotional display. However, Damien was very gentle and affectionate with his mother. He rubbed her warm hand on his cheek to retain her scent and show his affection. Suddenly, he glanced at Chloe. Returning home quickly has made me a bit hungry. I think I should find something to eat. His mother responded warmly, Of course, I'll ask Mrs. Dawn to prepare something for you right away. Damien replied, No need, mother. There's plenty of food on the table already. Chloe hesitated, glancing at the nearby plate of food. Damien looked at his mother and said, Have them prepare another meal. Soon, a large amount of food was laid out in front of them. The Duke asked his wife, So, are you happy here while I've been away? Chloe replied, Of course. Really? Yes. Everyone is very kind, so I feel comfortable. The Duke smiled. It's good to hear you say that. He cut a piece of steak and put it in his mouth but immediately spit it out, angrily throwing the knife and fork down. This is disgusting. Not fit to be called food. His mother exclaimed in shock. Damien? The Duke wiped his mouth, cursing. Damn it. Summon the doctor immediately. His mother became anxious. Damien, what's wrong? Why do you need a doctor? He replied, Because the family doctor has failed to ensure your health. I want to send him packing immediately. My dear, I'm perfectly fine. What nonsense are you talking about? The fact that you have eaten such dreadful food without complaint shows that your sense of taste has serious issues, the Duke said, holding his mother's hand with a sorrowful expression. She pushed his hand away. There's nothing wrong with my taste, Damien. Don't blame the doctor and forget about punishing him. He coldly asked, Are you sure? The steak is tough, the vegetables are dry and shriveled, the soup is clearly made from leftovers, and the wine is completely unsuitable to serve at a family table. Are you telling me you know this? Damien tightly gripped the knife in his hand. Fine, then call the chef here. A moment later, the head chef and the servants arrived in the dining room. The chef nervously said, We really don't understand how the leftover food for the poor ended up being served here. The poor? The Duke growled, causing the servants behind him to tremble with fear. The chef continued, Yes, sir. It seems that those responsible for preparing the table made this mistake. The offenders immediately bowed deeply and loudly pleaded, We have committed a grave offense. Please, forgive us, sir. The Duke Damien spoke angrily. Do you think you will live after insulting my family like this? Throw them into the dungeon and tear them apart limb by limb. Chloe quickly intervened. My lord, it's just a meal. Please overlook this minor mistake. Damien sighed. Oh, my lady, this is food meant for the poor. Does it look like something fit for human consumption? He sternly reprimanded. I have clearly instructed you on your responsibilities as a duchess. Do you not understand the meaning of my words? Sitting here and eating this garbage without protest is an insult to my honor. You may come from a humble family, but you should know these basic things. Chloe clenched her fists and replied, I apologize for my carelessness, but as your lady and the woman of this house, I ask you to restrain yourself and show kindness to them. Give them a chance to serve a proper dinner suitable for the Thys family. The dinner eventually passed peacefully, and somehow, Chloe managed to spare the lives of the servants. She unconsciously grabbed the bed sheets as she recalled Damien's words afterward. I fear I must relent if that's what you want. You are truly a generous woman. She collapsed onto the bed from exhaustion. What a long day. I'm relieved not to have witnessed their heads roll. My stomach is already churning. There was a knock at the door, followed by the fearful voice of a maid. Madam, the Duke wishes to see you in his private room. Chloe thought to herself, what does he want at this hour? She replied to the maid, Tell the Duke I will be there as soon as I am ready. As soon as you are ready? What preparations could you possibly need to make? Damien said, and strode into the room. Neither elegant dresses nor formal attire are necessary at this hour, he declared, his voice cutting through the air. Chloe hurriedly tried to cover herself. I'll meet you in your room as soon as I change, so please give me a moment, she pleaded. The Duke leaned against the bedpost, crossing his arms with a sly smile. I told you, there's no need for elegance. Just come to me as you are. Chloe frowned in exasperation. I can't stand this man, she thought, grabbing her cane and quietly stepping off the bed to retrieve her shawl. She couldn't move without her cane. It wasn't easy at all. Without it, I'll fall flat on the floor, she said irritably. Is that what you want to see? Damien chuckled. I imagine that would be quite a charming sight, he teased, before stepping off the bed himself and extending his hand to her. Now, shall we go to my room? my dear wife? In the Duke's chamber, Chloe sat on the sofa, her curiosity piqued. It's very late. Do you have an urgent matter that requires my assistance? She asked. Damien responded slyly. What do you think could happen between a husband and wife at this hour? Chloe's brow furrowed. Could he be referring to what we left unfinished on our wedding night? She wondered, her heart suddenly racing at the thought. She clutched her shawl tightly around her. Damien watched her, amused by her flushed cheeks and averted gaze. He smirked, knowing exactly what she was thinking. I intend to reward you for your steadfast duties as the Duchess, he said. Chloe was puzzled. I don't think I've done anything significant, the Duke replied. You've helped me get rid of Elisa and Robinson. She was taken aback. You knew about their deceitful actions? Damien shrugged. I love my mother, and I know how attached she was to those two, so I turned a blind eye to their dirty deeds. He looked at her playfully. Why the shocked face? Does my love for my mother surprise you that much? Chloe turned away, flustered. No, not really, she stammered. He continued. Despite her erratic and immature behavior, she's still the woman who gave birth to me. For now, she'll spend some time resting at the Southern Villa. As you can see, she's just heartbroken over Ellie and Robbie's dismissal. Changing the scenery and breathing fresh air will do her good. As he spoke, he lifted a small box. In the meantime, you'll adjust better to life here. Chloe was surprised, wondering if this man was showing kindness towards her. Damien placed the white gift box, neatly tied with a ribbon and adorned with a gemstone, on the table before him. He spoke, open it. Chloe followed his instruction and discovered inside a leg brace designed to help her walk without the cane. She was taken aback as the Duke continued. I thought a more practical gift would be better than that cane. You seem accustomed to its inconvenience. Once you get used to this device, you can walk comfortably without any support. Try it on for me. Chloe closed the box lid. I appreciate the gift, but it's up to the recipient to decide whether to use it or not. I'll try it another time. In her mind, the image of the dead snake and the broken cane often haunted her nightmares. I don't want to be seen hobbling and falling, she thought. Damien's tone sharpened. Is that what you mean? Then I suppose it was also your decision to invite the servant up to the cabin for a rendezvous? Chloe was startled. You had us followed? Damien replied. When you're a member of this family, you hear all sorts of news, whether you want to or not. What was your purpose in giving him more than a servant deserves? You even brought him to my domain. Chloe tried to explain. Jill is a loyal servant who has worked for my family since he was a child. That's all, Damien retorted. Elisa cared for me since I was born, yet she still betrayed our trust. The atmosphere between them became tense and cold. Despite her frustration, Chloe humbled herself. I wish you would stop insulting me, she said quietly. The Duke responded, I'm not insulting you, just giving you advice. Your loyal servant still hasn't left the estate. If someone discovers him lingering here, what do you think people will whisper behind your back? Chloe became flustered. Jules hasn't returned to the estate? Why? Damien suddenly stood next to her, grabbing her hand. I can't believe you would abandon your duties as a duchess and disgrace me like this, Chloe. So put on the brace immediately. Feeling powerless, Chloe looked at the device in front of her and reluctantly obeyed. In the Duke's chamber, Chloe fell to the floor with a cry of pain. Damien, seemingly indifferent, knelt down and coldly asked, where does it feel uncomfortable? He reached out to adjust the device. Chloe, suppressing her pain, pushed him away. Please, don't touch me, she pleaded. Damien pressed on. Then answer me. I need to know its flaws to fix them, she retorted angrily. The whole device is uncomfortable because I don't need it. It only causes me more pain. The Duke responded. It will help you a lot if you get used to it. It will take some time and effort. Suddenly, he noticed a strange tone in her voice. Chloe, are you crying? The Duke gently brushed his hand over her flushed cheeks, observing her beautiful face tormented by pain. Chloe recoiled from his touch. Why would I cry? She asked. Damien smirked. Right, crying like a child is not fitting for a duchess. He lifted her skirt and caressed her thigh. Chloe gasped in fear. Your Grace, you truly are like a demon. Damien leaned in close to her beautiful face and responded slyly. But you haven't yet seen how much of a demon I can be. The part 4 of the story ends here. Please like and subscribe to follow the upcoming developments between Damien and Chloe.